let me start with what you pointed out as white space, right? I think we are in the business of backing founders, right? So our day in day out business is people coming in and saying, "Hey, I see a white space in the market, and I'm gonna fill that with a new product, a new technology, right?" And that's really our business to back that conviction, back that vision. And at least what we are seeing in the fintech space is as the Indian economy is growing, so are the needs for financial services, but also the way the consumption of financial services is happening is also changing, right? I think that is the biggest trend that we are seeing, and the biggest trend we are seeing in which people are recognizing a white space and then going after it. The overarching theme we are seeing is that people are saying, hey, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, your bank was your single point of contact for all sort of financial services needs, right? If you think about our parents or anybody 15 years ago, they used the bank for savings account, for their housing loan, for their personal loan, car loan, for the insurance product, for their brokerage, everything, right? Now, fast forwarded today, each of the things I mentioned actually have gotten in some way disintegrated because people have come and said, "Hey, I will provide a superior experience in each of these slivers." So if you want to do broking, I have a Zerodha or a Grow who will do a better job. If you're a consumer loan, I'm an early salary, I'll do a better job. If you want a credit card, I'll do a better job. Or if you're a payments business, if you're a business, I'll be a Razor Pay. If you're a consumer, I'll be a Google Pay, Phone Pay, right? So I think that is a trend we are seeing, and we are seeing more and more of it. Honestly, every quarter we see, every time we think that it's all done now, all bases are covered. Somebody comes in and has an interesting idea on how they're gonna change the landscape. Now, within this, and the fundamentals of building a good financial services business are not changing, right? The fundamentals, which are distribution, high quality underwriting, if you are in a book based business, uh, strength of balance sheet, etc., staying same. But I think fintechs are maturing. Fintech companies and payment companies are maturing really to find ways to not compete all the time with the traditional established institutions, which are, by the way, we have tremendous respect for them, for banks like HDFC or ICICI or SBI, or even large NBFCs like Chola or Sundaram have done or AU have done a terrific job over many years. I think what is really heartening is to see how the ecosystem is coming together with the fintech companies collaborating with these established companies, and fintech bringing the product, the technology know-how, and on the other side, the established companies bringing in the balance sheet, the underwriting history, a lot of data, and that marriage is creating a lot of value. And as that marriage is happening, is going deeper, we are actually seeing the growth in fintech actually inflect, right? Because now you're not swimming against the tide, you're not fighting the large guys, but you're actually swimming with the tide, where you are getting the tailwinds from the large banks as well. I was recently speaking to somebody pretty senior at SBI, and they were very keen to meet all of our portfolio companies and see where can they collaborate, right? So I think that is very heartening. Um, and honestly, this is something we have seen globally. I think that's the last point I want to add, that we are fintech payments is probably one of the largest investment areas for us globally. We've invested in companies like Stripe, Klarna, Nubank, and financials, and similarly in India, uh, in Cred, Razorpay, BharatPay, Grow, etc. And we have seen like more than $1 trillion market cap getting created in just last 5-7 years in fintech, and we are pretty big believers that similar trend is going to get followed in India. Um, I'll pause there and happy to take any questions.
So have you seen some very interesting, kind of startups that you have uh, you have seen, or you've been a part of their investment team that are doing something really phenomenally different than what you've seen otherwise?
Well, different is, different stays different till people don't get it, and then it becomes mainstream. So what was different maybe 3-4 years ago? I mean, we used to think Razorpay was different because they were approaching the entire payment gateway business from a very different standpoint. But at the same time, till it stays different, people also question it. We believe Cred is doing something very different. But I'm sure there are many people who have questions as to how are they doing it. But I mean, their approach of building distribution uh, amongst the top 5% of this economy, the best consumers, so as to say, is extremely interesting for us. And we are now seeing how they are using that distribution to overlay more and more products on top, and consumers are coming and lapping them up. Uh, I think similarly on more younger stage companies, we have backed a company which is getting into the revenue-based financing model, right? Where for the longest time, the traditional for a merchant, the traditional method has been you build a business, build revenue, build profits, and then you go to a bank and ask for a loan, etc. But now people are saying, hey, I if I can underwrite your stream of revenues, and if I have a good sense of how it's going to play out, I'm happy to underwrite that itself, and you just give me a share of that revenue, and you grow your business faster with that, and maybe you need to raise less equity for that, and that's starting to become a pretty interesting model, particularly for businesses which have recurring customer base. Either that's a SaaS business or a direct to consumer, regular purchase business. So that's a very interesting trend that we are seeing. Um, Frankly, the other thing we are seeing is that, and we joke sometimes internally that every company is a fintech company now, because so many companies we invest in come and say, hey, I'm going to build a set of distribution, and then I'm going to use financial services products to monetize. And that used to get laughed at 5 years ago, that hey, you want to be a bank finally, but that's playing out, and Bharat Pay has proven that they built a tremendous amount of distribution using the QR code, and then they are now overlaying it with lending, with credit card. I mean, now they have gone and acquired a bank, which is quite phenomenal. And we are seeing that in even consumer internet businesses. We have backed a company called Apna, which is building the LinkedIn for the the middle layer of India, right, for the service class. And they are going to do very interesting products in the fintech space. Uh, I can go on and on. I think at least 30 to 40% of our 250 odd companies are doing something interesting in fintech in one way or the other.
Very nice. Anything on the bottom of the pyramid that you see? Because I think that everybody talks about that being a huge, unserved or underserved class. Is there anything that's cooking there?
Yeah, that's a very interesting one, Vishwas. We actually dabbled with that question a lot, right? We are believers in the fact that in the long term, that bottom of the pyramid is massive, should get serviced. They are underserviced, uh, but at the same time, we have also found it extremely hard for economics to make sense if you just go directly to them. I mean, I don't want to necessarily push the envelope and say Bharat Pay is bottom of the pyramid. Maybe you'll call it middle of the pyramid. But if you truly talk about bottom of the pyramid, I think the models that we are seeing are or backing are really people who are using distribution in a different format to first get to those consumers. So distribute it with lower cost, frequent use case, and then overlay financial services products on top. To give you an example, we have backed a company called Dehat. It's an agri technology company. And what they are doing is they are going after millions of farmers, but what they are building that distribution by playing in the supply chain of the farmer, by helping them source products they need, the inputs at a better cost, help them sell their output with lesser middlemen or middlewomen in the supply chain. And once they build that distribution using that use case, which is much easier, much less friction, then they have a lot more data about these consumers. There are better touch points with these consumers, and then selling financial services products has been way more viable. In the same breath, I shared the Apna example. That's pretty much similar to this. But I would say that's what we are seeing more of than people straight away going and selling financial products to the bottom of the pyramid.